Welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna, and a new episode in some O-scale adventure. Actually, Proto 48 adventure now, because I've made the decision to go to Proto 48 instead of just OW5, which is 5-foot O gauge. So I have a locomotive started, as I've already done a video on that, but it hasn't progressed any further than that. I'm still working on the truck design and the gearbox, and it's almost done. Probably about another month, and I should have hopefully something in my hand that I can show on that. So that's just a little update on the locomotive. I'm really chomping at the bit to work on it. I did get the frame cut, there's that, but let me leave that for another time. So I did start a freight car project, and I have accumulated a few kits so that I have stuff in the pipeline. But the first freight car I'm going to do is a Pullman Standard, or otherwise known as a PS-2 two-bay covered hopper. Way back in my youth, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I think it was. I can't remember, but anyways, it was back when Yahoo had all of the, I think it was Yahoo, but had all of the groups, or somebody had all the groups. It wasn't Group IO yet. And I got on an O-scale list just to see what was going on. And somebody, I don't remember his name, he lived in Australia, and he was working on an absolutely phenomenal looking PS-2 two-bay covered hopper. And that's always stuck in the back of my head. But at that time, of course, I didn't think I had the skills to do it, and I didn't think I could accomplish quite what he did. Now, he built all of the end cages in brass and stuff. I'm going to do it in styrene because I like working in plastic. So I bought a Lionel PS-2 two-bay covered hopper. I looked at the Atlas ones. I think it was Atlas, and I looked at the MTH, I think it was. I can't remember. The one that the person used who from Australia used the Lionel one, and I can see why. It looks to be the best canvas to start with. You can see it a little bit right here. So I set about to really build this car. I mean, really, really build this car. And I want, as far as going to O-scale, my reason for going to O-scale is to return to real modeling. You can model in HO, it's cool, and it works, but in O-scale, in the larger scales, you can really get down to the rivets, or rivet counting, if you want to call it that, and the bolts and things like that. So I was informed by a friend that the Norfolk and Western Historical Society had a bunch of drawings available. I didn't know the extent of it. I knew they had something, but I had no idea the extent of how many drawings they had. I went through their archives and basically got every drawing for the PS2 hopper that they had, and it's extensive. They have drawings from their, I guess you'd call it their vendors, or OEM. You know, they have drawings from Pullman Standard and stuff in their archives, and it's like, wow. So I have the full dimension blueprint for the car, and the structure of the car, and the draft gearboxes. I've got the striker plates. I've got the just everything. The ladders, the ladder styles, the sill frame, the bolsters, the bolster or the bolster plate, the draft gearbox yoke, you name it, I've got it. So I could, if I ever wanted to really produce this car, I have the drawings to produce it. Not only that, but my not so local museum, it's a couple hours away, has a ex-Pennsylvania, painted in Penn Central, really rusted out and all that, PS2 two-bay hopper. So I go out there on the weekends, and 2 weeks ago I was out there, and I grabbed the measurements of the draft gearbox, the keyway, the frame, all the brackets for the brake equipment, the air reservoir, the brake cylinder, and the triple valve. They got all kinds of measurements, and I was really confident in the measurements I got, and comparing them to the blueprints that I got from the Norfolk and Western Historical Society, I measured everything spot on. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to go out there again this weekend and measure the air reservoir and stuff, because I just bought myself a 3D printer. Yay! And so I have to learn how to use that. And I want to print these parts. So the air reservoir is a really cool feature. I mean, it's a standard air reservoir, but nobody has really done it right. And so I want to measure it up and try to get it looking exactly like what it's supposed to be. I'm going to try to get the triple valve as well as the brake cylinder. But those three parts seem to be fairly well rendered by other by companies that are producing aftermarket parts. So with all of that, I just want to try to build this car basically from the ground up. So let me get my camera set up over here. I've gotten started on it. You can see the white in here. And let me just show you what I'm doing and what I plan on doing. All right, so all I've done so far is basically stripped all the paint off of it, disassembled it, and stripped all the paint. The rooftop, the rooftop and all the hatches and everything are over on my paint desk, just sitting over there. I don't need them on my build desk because I won't get to those for a while. Oh yeah, one of the drawings I got too was the Pullman Standard roof hatches, so that was kind of cool to get that. But right now, all I've gotten done is the basic frame structure. So these come off. These are made out of metal, and they come off. So I will not be using these, but I'll use them as a reference. They are actually pretty nice. They look pretty nice, but I'm going to be building these because these aren't built out of angle, and I want to build them out of angle and all that stuff. So I'll be just using these as a guide. I've got the body all stripped of paint, and I've removed all of the ribs, because these are going to be channel ribs. This is going to be a KONG car. So I've already got I've already got the decals done for them. So these are the decals for the cars. So I'm going to do 2 cars. And so I had to remove all of the hat sections. So I decided just go ahead and remove the channel on the ends, and all the channels will be the same. They're 8-inch channels, and they're evenly spaced all the way across the car. So I've cut these off. These spots where you see the putty in is where my cutter went a little too deep, so I filled it. Then I took it to the sink after it dried for a couple days and just wet sanded the whole thing and then polished it so it's nice and smooth. Same for that side. You can see that side. You can't feel any bumps or anything like that. So that's where the car's at right now. Now, because of the drawings I have, I know that this frame, the sill frame, is 35 feet 3 inches. Now the 3 inches come off because that's the thickness of the striker plates. The striker plates are 1.5 inch thick each. So I take that off, and these are just blocks to keep the sides from bowing in. So the frame itself is 35 feet long. So I put these under, let me see the side. This goes here. I'm going to show you something here in a second. So the Lionel car is a little too long because these, just a second, with the striker plate, I'm sorry, not with the striker plate, these ends here extend past this frame 4.5 inches. And you can see on here, I think you can see that pencil line? That is the outside of the frame, this outside edge of the frame. And right now, it goes to about the middle of the frame, or the sill, the outside sill. So when I build this, I have to build this back just a little bit. It looks like it's about maybe 40 thousandths too far on each end. So I have to build it back just a little bit. But the reason why I have these notches in here is because Lionel didn't quite make these contours correct. They should flare out a little bit more, and this frame should just go straight through them. But once you put it in there, you can't see it, and it looks like the frame goes through. And once you flip it over and all that, you won't see anything. So these this portion of the frame extends out from the main frame 3.5 inches on each side. That's why it looks so wide there. So that's what I got there. So I cut this frame piece to the correct dimensions according to the drawings and the dimensions that I got off of the real prototype car at the museum. So I put this piece of 25,000. I had to the frame, the width of the frame without the plate. Actually, it's not a plate. It's actually like an I-beam that's welded. It's with one side welded off. Actually, it's not even that. Let me give you an idea of what the frame looks like here real quick. Where's a pencil? There we go. Let me move this out of the way. So the frame at the top, it's in half. So it comes. This is the top. So it comes down and then it flanges out like that. And it comes across the top. So there's two halves made like that, and then there's a weld bead. So there's another piece of this. This comes across, down, out, in, and out. So it's basically like that, a big hat section, and then there's a weld bead down the center. So it's made in two pieces and then welded together. So it's actually hollow in the middle. So in reality, this should be hollow all the way down, but I'm not going to do that. You don't see it, and I need the thickness for the bolster screw and all that. So these wings here, these represent those wings. So that's 3.5 inches out on each side. So the frame itself, this big part is 14 inches across the top. From the top to the top of the flange, basically, is 12 inches. And then it's 1 inch for the flange, so that's 20 thousandths in O scale, or basically almost 21 thousandths. So this 20 thousandths plastic actually measured out to be about 21 thousandths. So that worked out really, really well. So that's what I've got so far. The draft gearbox, let me pull this out. That's pretty tight. I'm going to build the draft gearbox kinda, or not kinda, I'm going to build it out a little bit. You can see it bows in a little bit right there, but there will be more supports in there. This will set in there. I'll have a piece in there. I'll put a block back here that holds the spring, so there's a little bit of spring action in it, and then I'll put this plate. This will all, once this is all together, this will be permanently glued in. I'm not concerned about it ever breaking or anything. This is a Protocraft coupler. I've taken it apart and grit blasted it and cleaned all the paint off of it and everything. All the other parts are somewhere around here. Oh, I don't even know where I put all the other parts. Oh, I think they're in a box somewhere or something. I'll have to find them. I don't know where I put them. Anyway, so, oh, yeah, they're in the bag with all the other parts. So this will go in here. It'll have a spring. So the distance from the back of this coupler head to the frame itself, I believe, was 6 inches. I'd have to look at my notes, but I think it's 6 inches. I'm not sure, but I'll have to look at my notes. And when I get to that part, I'll definitely tell you exactly what it is and stuff. But my notes are on the table back there. So this is all going to be built in. There'll be more structures on the inside and such to build that out. And I'll put the keyway details on the sides and such. My next task when I go out to the museum is just to, the blueprints I have don't have the width of the bolster plate that's on the bottom. I do have all the other dimensions where it tapers in and stuff, so I need to measure the full width from front to back of the bolster plate, and then when it comes across the top and it bends a little bit down towards the sill, I need to get the dimension of the front to back at the sill because it tapers, so I want to get that right. I do have the drawing for the plate that the truck rides on, and I'll probably try 3D printing that because it has some features on there that actually, I'm going to show you something real quick, that actually fit the bolster boss on the truck, and I'll show you these trucks here in a minute. So I'll build that up, and I do need to cut this center brace out. I'm hoping it doesn't cause the sides to bow in too much, but I need to cut that out because on the prototype there's a filler, a triangular filler piece that fills that whole area in and is welded flush to the frame. So I got to do that, and there's a hole in it, and I'll go over all that when I get to it. So I need to cut that out, and these end ones here, those I can just keep there because those are actually there. I just need to do a little filling up to, put some styrene in there up to the, where you can see there's a gap between the frame and that triangular piece. So I need to fill that in and stuff. So this is where I'm at now, and I've got a lot of 3D printing to do. I've got the drawing for the car shakers, so I can 3D print those and get those on there. I've got to get all the plumbing and all that stuff. So for the trucks, now I bought some Proto 48 trucks from Protocraft, not thinking that they were the right trucks. I just bought some 70-ton trucks, the only 70-ton trucks they had. And it turns out that they are about 95% correct for this car. Now what makes them correct is they have the 3 outer springs. Now I think I'm going to replace these springs with, I'm going to try to coil some brass because I don't need sprung trucks. These things, you would need a crap ton of weight on this car to make these things work, because I have to push down really hard to make that move. So to make it look better, because you can, if you look at them, the springs are kind of crooked and such. What I might do is take this truck apart. I have the drawings for the springs that are supposed to be there, so I might 3D print the springs, which probably what I do, because I can 3D print the outer spring, and I can 3D print the smaller coil spring that goes inside the outer spring. So a friend of mine had done that, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. So, and these will sit basically right about in here, but there will be a bolster that sits up, so they'll be somewhere right in here. And so I'll get those taken care of. So that's my next task for this frame is to get the bolsters, spaced properly and set up, and get the height right for the car and such, so that I can get those in there properly. I don't know if it goes, I think it goes this way, because all the brake equipment's on this side, the brake pulls and everything. So I get that taken care of, and once I get the bolsters taken care of, I'll work on the draft gearboxes, because I need to get the coupler height right. Now I did buy a coupler height gauge from Katie, but I don't know if that gauge is correct or not. I do have the dimension for the top of the rail to the center line of the coupler, so that's what I'm going to set it up to. And what I'll probably do is maybe modify the Katie gauge to match the prototype height off the railhead, if it doesn't already. So that's basically it. Now I got a couple things to go over. One thing is, I found out this general scale rule for O-scale is incorrect. It's 2 scale inches off. So when I was measuring this frame, I basically took 35 inches times 12 divided by 48, and that comes out to, let me see, 35 feet, which is times 12, that's inches, is 420 inches divided by 48 is 8 3/4 inches long. Well, if you measure 8 3/4 inches on this rule, you come out 2 inches short. So this rule is no good for O gauge. I don't know about HO and N or whatever, but it's a good straight edge for cutting along though. So that's what I use for that. This is what the Lionel frame looks like. So it's like, I can't live with that. That's because of the 3-rail trucks that come on this. So that will not be used, of course, and such. So this is where I'm at. And was there one other thing I wanted to go over? I think that's it. But I like the fact that I'm going to Proto 48, and I love building these models. I have a lot of 3D drawings libraries that I've started to put together, especially for the locomotive. For the freight cars, I still have to do some stuff, but I have the information, or I will have the information, to get all the necessary parts. The brackets for the brake equipment, I'll have photo etched. I also have the drawing for the roof walk, so I can get that photo etched. And I'm not going to photo etch it in a flat piece. I'm going to photo etch it so it has the serrated edges, and then it's like a kit. You have to put all the little parts together and either glue them or solder them, or run like some put some solder paste in the joints and then just hit them with the soldering iron and get that all taken care of. So I've got all that. I've got the drawing for the little brake stand grate, so I've got that drawing. I've got drawings for pretty much everything on this car that I need. So that takes care of this car. I do have a couple of other cars that I'm going to be doing. One of them is this, I don't know if you recognize that, but that's the Pullman Standard demonstrator car for their 40-foot plug door. So I'm going to do that. And this is, I think, a Fubi car, but I really like it. It's the liquefied gases, National Cylinder Gas Company. It's a gray box car. I did it in HO. I had it, it's basically a nostalgic car. I had it in N scale when I was a kid, so I built it in HO and just loved it. So I was like, you know what, I need to have that in O scale. But for O scale, it'll be done in fine detail, you know, basically a Pullman Standard with a superior door and get all that, you know, get the car correct, all the brake rigging, you know, fine scale model it, but put those decals on it. So this is the start of this project. I'm not going to jump into other projects. I'm only going to do like one locomotive at a time and one freight car. When I finish that, then I'll move on to the other freight car. If I haven't finished a locomotive, I'll still, you know, like, as separate. I won't start another locomotive, but if I finish this freight car before I finish the locomotive, then I'll start another freight car. And then when I finish the locomotive, then I'll start another locomotive. But it's just going to be one at a time, one locomotive, one freight car. So anyway, that's what I got going here. So that's what I've got going here. And I know it's slow going, but this is what I consider like modeling, not necessarily model railroading, although it is railroad related. It's modeling, like as if you're building a tank kit or an airplane or a ship or a car or something like that. You're getting deep into the minutia of the detail, the rivet heads, the bolts, and things like that. So that's what I want to bring out. That's the kind of modeling I really like doing. And I could go into all kinds of reasons why I'm not modeling HO, although I'm not getting rid of my HO. I still have it all, and my friends have HO layouts and stuff that I can run on. But I'll never have the layout in my room or the, you know, what I wanted to accomplish with HO. So why not go into what my passion is fine scale modeling. I love the detail, which will bring me back to weathering again. You know, I love how those things look, even though I don't like the process. I think I can learn to enjoy it when I start seeing the effects or the results of the weathering and how it's coming together. So anyway, I really appreciate you hanging around and watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed it. I know there wasn't a lot of modeling, but we'll be getting to that because my feet are just getting wet in O scale. I'm just learning, you know, the manufacturers, what's available, what I need to do. I still have to learn how to use the 3D printer, and that'll be lots of fun, so we can do videos on that. I'm going to tell you right now, I know nothing about them other than all the stuff that I've watched on YouTube. So I get my printer this Friday, and that night I'm going to set it up and get my first print done as far as a test print to see, you know, what my settings need to be and such. And I'm going to get starting to print. I mean, I've drawn a crap ton of stuff for locomotives already. I need to get it to the printer. So anyways, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you'll stay with me on this, and I'll catch you in the next one.